Today, let's talk about vintage firearms from Asia, and this is the Mongolian hunters' snap lock guns in the north region of Asia. This old gun used a flint as an ignition mechanism to ignite the premier powder, but in fact, this is not a true flintlock gun, because in the firearms field, the word flintlock is a proper noun. It only expresses those typical musket or rifle locks most widely used in Europe from the 17th century to the 19th century. It also was the first and most mature musket lock that can ignite the premier powder by using flint in the world. The most typical example is a flintlock that was used by the British Red Coat soldiers. In history, there was not only one type of lock that used the flint as an ignition mechanism, such as stock lock and snap lock, according to the shape of this gun, especially this very obvious big spring on the outside. It should be a snap lock. When we talk about the snap lock, I want to add some information about the snap lock family. In this gun lock family, the most famous might be the miquelet lock. It was often used in the regions of the Mediterranean Sea, such as in the Iberian Peninsula, in Italy, in North Africa, in Balkan Peninsula, and in the Ottoman Empire. Over time, snap lock continued spreading and came to the Caucasus region, Ukraine, and Russia from the late 16th to the mid-19th century. So there were many different regional varieties. With more and more European military changed to the true flintlock, less and less countries continued using the snap lock, but the hunters who lived further from the big cities, so probably couldn't get the newest news about firearms. So they still used the old type of guns, or maybe they were more accustomed to using the old type of gun and didn't want to change their habit. Based on the existing similar guns, the guns probably were handmade by the gun makers or the hunters themselves in the village. Although the lock was simplified, all the function of the lock was kept. After being simplified, the trigger has been moved on the outside and fixed on the right side of the gun stock. It still has some features of the snap lock, like the main spring and the cock that has teeth can match together with the main spring. But because the trigger moved to the right side of the gun, it probably is not very friendly for the left-handers. Additionally, this snap lock has some Russian-style snap lock features. The first recorded examples of this type of weapon in Russia occurred during the late 16th century. Because the guns were rugged, reliable enough, they were always popular in use among Cossacks and other march forces, were always until the late 19th century, remaining in use and firmly unchanged. Maybe this is the other reason why the hunters still used the old type guns, because some Cossacks still used them. I think maybe in the future we will talk more about this iconic Russian snap lock, but now let's continue to focus on this Mongolian gun. Because some guns were upgraded from a small spar barrel to a rifled barrel, the guns that were probably built in the 19th century. Additionally, there are even some modern hex bolts and nuts that were used in building the gun. So according to this clue, it was probably made in around the 1950s, but for some reasons, maybe they didn't want to do it, or maybe they could not do it. They didn't change the lock to the percussion cap lock or more advanced gun parts. Back to nowadays, if we search this kind of snap lock firearms on the internet, we still can find many photos, and the locks of the gun have the same style. So basically, we can think that these guns are the guns which have an iconic style and the typical features in the corresponding region. Plus, the guns also should be able to represent the local firearms culture in the corresponding region. Besides the snap lock, I think another iconic feature is the back pop. Actually, this is the feature of the traditional guns in Central Asia, South Asia, and Tibet. If someone, including me, sees it for the first time, I believe he will think that the backpop is a bayonet on the gun, but in fact, this is not a bayonet. This kind of firearm with a backpop also was one of the favorite firearms for the Chinese emperors in the Qing dynasty. So, in Chinese language, this kind of musket has a nickname, 叉子枪, the fork gun. Until now, there still are some backpop musket that are collected in the Forbidden City in Beijing. But unfortunately, as far as I know, these guns are not showing out in public. So if we want to see it, we will have to go to the official website of the Forbidden City and see the collections online. So why did the Mongolian hunters have guns with some Tibetan style or Central Asian style? I think the progress probably is that in 1246, Tibetan Buddhism reached the region of Mongolia. So there should be a way to connect the Tibetan culture and the Mongolian culture. With the time going, the Tibetan matchlock musket also came into Mongolia with other cultures. According to some old photos, even in the late part of the 19th century and the early part of the 20th century, we still can learn about the matchlock that was still used by many hunters, even though the bolt-action repeating rifles have gotten more and more popular in Mongolia, where unfortunately, the traditional old-type of firearms also survived in the early years of the 20th century. Okay, now after talking about the guns, let's talk about who uses the guns. According to the articles on the internet, we can learn that the guns were used by Mongolian, but the homeland of Mongolian is not only in Mongolia and Inner Mongolia, but also in some regions of Russia. We have seen this kind of guns had a Russian-style snap lock, but not like the old-type firearms in Mongolia and Inner Mongolia, which generally were matchlock. So based on this clue, we probably can infer that the users of these guns were the Mongolian who lived in Russia. In other words, the users of these guns should be the Mongolian who could often have more communications with Russian people. In addition, if the shooters wanted to use the gun mostly, they would need a kit, which includes a powder horn, scraper, bullet starter, lead pouch, bullet mold, and powder measure. Okay, this is today's video. Honestly, I want to talk about this topic for a long time, but every time I wanted to create a video, a more interesting topic just jumped in front of my eyes. So I didn't catch the chance to think about how to talk about today's topic until today. Now I finally catch the chance to make this video and continue my Asian historical firearms series. Thank you for watching. Hope you can like this video. Have a good day. See you next time.